ladies and gentlemen. My name is Whitney Belkowitz, President and CEO of Intelligent Concrete.
I'm David Harris. I'm the Principal Engineer for Intelligent Concrete.
And this is 494 Tree Week, and David is picking our sponsored tree today.
The tulip poplar tree.
Oh, excuse me. Very fancy,
Yeah.
David.
Yeah, it's common in some places, not common in other places.
Right.
It only grows in certain environments.
Love it.
It's a very pretty tree. It has a real nice blossom when it does bloom. And I think that I picked that to lead into today's conversation.
Oh, excuse me. Well, take us off, David.
Yeah, so
Start us off.
we're picking a very specific area today. We're a little bit out of the 494 range. 494 has a specific area today. We have a specific area we want to talk about. It's kind of pretty, but
A little finicky.
It's a little finicky. So today we're going to talk about cost.
Cost. So first of all, what is the whole process? I mean, we've kind of hit on parts of it, but like, what is our process? When we first start evaluating an admixture, like what does it look like from start to finish?
Yeah, and it actually starts before that. I mean, it has to start with an idea.
Sure.
We have an idea. How does the idea fit into reality? How does it fit into the industry? So we take this idea and we begin to develop it. We do some research, we do some more research meaning we search again. We have to search and then search again. So, and finally we come up with something we think is probably going to be viable. Research cost, that itself is not a cheap process.
No, it's not.
It takes time.
It takes materials.
It takes materials.
It takes equipment.
You're not right the first time.
Never.
Never. You've got to try and try again.
And then try again.
Should we talk about the universal theorem of pi?
Right.
We have a cost that we think it's going to cost. Might as well just multiply that by pi because
at least
it's going to be probably that much more.
After we actually started doing R&D, we instituted Pi Day here in Intelligent Concrete as a reminder.
Universal theorem of pi.
Universal
Every
theorem
single
of pi.
one of our research budgets, we had to multiply.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, God bless all researchers. I mean, they're just such confident people. They're sure of themselves, and
Got it this time.
got it this time. But life's funny that way.
It is. It is. And I used to get so frustrated when we would have to redo something. Because you think every time we've got it dialed in, we've got it figured out, and you need to be a little bit more humble about the process.
And
So
now on to your point about once we've got this idea, we've got something in the genie in the bottle, then what happens?
then we start evaluating. We run small mixes. We run some grout mixes. Then we do those breaks, and then we move it up to the bucket mixer and do some a little bit bigger samples. Then we start messing around with concrete. Then we start talking about the actual 494 concrete testing, and then you go through that, and you start working in your QA, QC, and collecting your vintages, and
So the
field trials.
Yeah, so the 494 itself, the labcrete, we've got the bookcrete, we've got the imaginecrete. We went through that process. We come into the lab, we've got the labcrete. Just ballpark, what are we looking at dollars-wise there?
I would say on the low end, $250,000 when it's all said and done, and upwards to $1 million possibly. I mean, depending on how extensive your field trials are, depending on who you're trying to work with, depending on what portion of the industry you're trying to get into. Is it ASR? Is it strength increase? Is it durability? It really depends on the tests and who you're trying to focus. So, I mean, then with that cost in mind, you've got to evaluate, is it going to bring enough value to the industry to be able to be worth that cost internally? Like, can we afford it? Is there enough of the industry that's willing to see these benefits and pay for these benefits?
There's people that do market studies, and they're in business for a reason. I mean, they go out and evaluate the industry, the market, the part of the market you're talking about, can give you some feel for the scope, the quantity of the market. And you've got to see what part of that you want, what part of that you're after, and evaluate if that's worth it.
Well, and then are you willing to be flexible and actually put in the time to go after that industry? I mean, there's plenty, market evaluations are great, but if you don't do anything with that information, if you're stuck in one part of the industry that doesn't want to pay for those features and benefits, I mean, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Or are you better off shifting your focus and moving on to a different piece of it that actually is willing to pay for those features and benefits?
Absolutely. So we've got the inauguration of the idea, the invention of the idea, we've got the research, we've got the R&D, we do development as part of the research process. We do the demonstrations, as you mentioned, so we're R&D to try to get something out. And even that's not the end of it.
Right.
It's R&D, ND, ND. We have to get the deployment. We have to actually get it out into industry.
And then QA, QC.
In order to sustain it.
Right.
That's the sustainability
Right.
of the deployment.
Right.
So yeah, I think we're looking at probably no less than $250,000 in the concrete industry.
And a couple years of like active, focused, deliberate work.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and it is not for the faint of heart, because it's just, you've got to keep plugging along. The industry takes time to adapt new technology. So even if you do all that, you've got to, be strong enough to muscle your way in.
And you got to have the financial sustainability
Right.
to be able to work through it all.
Absolutely.
So we're not talking arts and crafts and trade show
No.
here. We're in county fair.
Right.
We're talking emerging into a big industry, and an industry that is somewhat resistant to new products.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where it is. That's
It's what it is.
it is what it is.
But it's awesome, and there are people that have done it. So anyways, if you have any questions, comments, please put them below. We're happy to answer them. Like, subscribe, ding that bell for notifications. Go concrete!
Beat that asphalt.